Hey, I never get tired of that song. And if y'all have listened to this show every week, then you know I play it every week. And I still don't get tired of that beat. I just love that beat for whatever reason. That's the beat I chose, and it sticks and it works. So hey, this is me, your man Ivan Hunt, coming to you live from Miami, Florida. You tune in to the Keep It Moving weekly podcast. So what is Keep It Moving all about? Keep It Moving is all about inspiring, motivating, encouraging, empowering people to take ownership over their life so they can start living their life that's full of purpose, passion, and meaning. So as you know, man, every week I like to start off with what I call a little chit chat. If you're not sure what a chit chat means, that means you ever been into a little dinner party or something, and you and somebody else, y'all just having y'all sidebar private conversation. There's always that one nosy person that always want to stick their nose in your business, talking about what y'all talking about. Oh no, we just chit chat. We ain't really talking about nothing. But in reality, you really were talking about something. So what we're gonna talk about this week, I never really know until now. So I picked up on something. So if you haven't heard, here's my weekly plug for my new book, however that works. There's a part of my book where I talk about values. And one of the things I asked, one of the exercises is identifying your values. And part of the exercise is as you go through the list and pick out whatever your top 10 values are, right, according to you, I ask you to pay attention to your feelings and your thoughts around, why you're selecting your values. So because paying attention to how you feel when you're selecting values is a great indicator of things that are important to you. Right? That's kind of somewhat common sense, but sometimes we just need that friendly reminder about those things. I noticed something this week that really kind of caught my own attention, right? I value equality. I consider myself to be an equality advocate. So if you were to look at my LinkedIn, part of my description, right, of the things that I am, one of them says equality advocate. And I noticed, I've gotten I've tried to embrace more of really who I am on this show and be a little bit more authentic. Sometimes I curse like a sailor, but my mom always told me, hey boy, you gotta be a professional. You gotta be professional. So I've kind of held that professionalism face when doing the show, but it's slowly starting to peel off a little bit. And it's just starting to be me. So I'm big also, not just equality, but racism and racial equality as well as gender equality. And so some of my shows here lately or last week was actually about, what it was like to be Black and be in a leadership position and what that means. And I got a lot of feedback from that show, and which was great. But I noticed something, Serena Williams almost won the US Open, I think it was, and Tiger Woods won recently, the big deal with Colin Kaepernick. And then Bill Cosby, right? Bill Cosby got locked up. And I started thinking, we have this big fuss going on right now. And on my Facebook social media feed, it's very liberal, right? Just the people that pop up are typically very liberal. I don't have a lot of conservatives that pop up on my feed. Now, I don't consider myself a Democrat or a Republican. I got some Democratic views. I got some Republican views. I'm more of an independent. I can think for myself. I don't need a party to dictate my policy or how I think. But I also noticed something on my LinkedIn. Now, my LinkedIn is very, very conservative, extremely. And it kind of caught my attention today because, they were kind of talking about this lady that's about to, testify in the Supreme Court justice case and so forth, or nominee, and they were showing all these pictures of all these liberals and these libtards and all this other stuff. Here's all the stuff they've done, and yet still 45 wasn't on their list. I started thinking, like, man, that don't make no sense. Here we are, they bashing this lady for coming up saying something happened to her, right? But then they sit there and say, oh well, 45 ain't did nothing wrong. No, he just said grab him in the, you know what I mean? So I was like, okay, this is wild. So in my personal life, right, I must have more of a liberal mindset. That's perfect, by the way, Jacqueline. And then, but in my professional life, I must have more conservative views. You know what I mean? So that's why I mentioned in the book, I talk about your values and pay attention to what's really important to you and your thoughts and your feelings, and you kind of get a better understanding of who you are. So in my personal life, in my social, my inner social circle, it's a lot more liberal. And I wouldn't say globalism, you know what I mean? But I'm very encompassing of other and inclusive of everybody. I really could care less. I mean, I've got a son who's gay, who's about to be married to his partner. I've got a sister who's gay. I've got a mom that's white. I've got my wife is half Colombian, Italian, immigrant, whatever. I've just got such a diverse group of people around me. So I do think in my personal life, I am much more social or liberal in my thinking. But when it comes to money, well, maybe not so much so. You know what I mean? I've got my investments, right? Do you know that, 10, 12 years ago, the U.S. population, about 60% of the U.S. population were invested in the stock market, right? Now, you always hear all this stuff about the stock market. Oh, stocks are risky. Stocks are risky. I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to keep it real with you on this one. Anything that white people invest their money in is going to make money. So the stock market is designed to make money. That's just a fact. So now you look at how many of the U.S. population invest their money. It's almost right around 50%. So 50% of this country is making money, regardless of who's in office, right? They could care less about politics as long as we make money. That's the whole emphasis. As long as we make money. I've made a boatload of money so far since Trump been in office. So there's a part of me to say, hey, go Trump, as long as I'm making money. But I was making money when Obama was in office too. See? But so my professional side, I've always been taught in a professionalism type way that I have to be more conservative. So my LinkedIn feed, unbeknownstly to me, the algorithm, I guess, just the way it works, is a lot more conservative. And I just, just something that popped in, it's an epiphany that I had today. And I thought, man, that's pretty wild. I never would have, it just didn't resonate with me. But I just thought I'd share that with you. So that's a little chit chat about this week. Pay attention to your social media feed and look at who you are on Facebook, because Facebook is really your interaction in your social life. But then check out your LinkedIn and then see what your professional life looks like. And see if, last week we talked about one of the things about being Black and being in corporate America, we got two faces, right? We were taught we got to act a certain way in certain locations. But then around us, we could dap it up, keep it 100, keep it real. But when we're in corporate, we kind of got to put on our, change our voice a little bit and talk a little bit, or articulate and so forth, right? So, but pay attention to it, and you'll be surprised at what you really find out about yourself. So that's just my little rant for the week. I just thought it was funny. So this week, my guest, and I'm excited about having my guest on here because I think she and I have a lot of similarities, and I think our passions and purposes in life is very similar. So I'm really curious to hear her take and hear her story and hear how she got to this place where she is in her life. Her name is Jacqueline Hayes. She's a 3-time author, motivational speaker, and empowerment consultant. I like that term, empowerment consultant. Jacqueline helps women to achieve leverage. I like that word too, by the way, and self-confidence while instilling in them passion, focus, and commitment. Her professionalism and firsthand experience have been the sources of her deep knowledge, insight, direction, and understanding of issues in the corporate world, as well as the ability to impart people with excellence. First of all, good morning and welcome to Keep It Moving, Jacqueline.
Good morning, Ivan. Thank you for the opportunity.
It's
to have this conversation with you.
My pleasure. My pleasure. When I was reading through your bio, there was really two words. There was really one word that really jumped out at me, and I really want you to expand on that word, and that's leverage. I don't think people really understand. I've written a blog called Leverage and Boundaries. You can't have, boundaries without leverage. It's just words, right? But people don't understand sometimes what leverage means. So what does leverage mean? Why that use of that word?
Well, for me, it means taking what you have and being clear about that and how to maximize and how to get more out of whatever situation you're in. So when you find yourself in a situation, it's like, okay, well, what are my skills? What knowledge, what resources do I bring to the situation? And how can I actually stack those in a way where I experience leverage, where I get to move the needle, experience some kind of powerful impact that will make a difference? I notice with a lot of women, they sometimes downplay their skills, their knowledge, and don't know how to actually insert or plug them in the appropriate ways in certain situations. So we help women identify where they're good, where they're strong, and how to really, really perform at a high level.
And what are some of the issues? So you work primarily with women, is that correct?
Right.
Okay, because I work
And,
primarily with men, so we're good. We ain't competing against each other.
well, we
I
need to
know.
put on a conference so we bring everybody together because we need everybody, right? It's all of us together. Correct?
Absolutely. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. What are some of the things that you find with women when they come to you? What is their biggest challenge, or what is their biggest want or need?
I would say because as women, we're nurturers, that we're so comfortable putting other people's needs first that we never get around to asking ourselves one critical question, and that is, what do I want? And for
Mm,
most women I talk to, they've never taken the time to ask the question. So, and I get it myself. You can kind of go around in your life kind of like a hamster on a wheel and never get clear about how do I really, really show up in my life to make a difference, enjoy my life, add value. And so most women, they don't know what they want, so they kind of just go through the day to day and just kind of move around that capacity. And the one thing about not knowing what you want is that you spend a lot of your time helping other people achieve their goals, that you never get clear on how to focus on achieving your goals. And what that leads to with most women, I find, is depression, anxiety, this weird kind of toxic mentality or victim mentality where they blame people for how how they're operating in their lives. And so what I really try to do is to direct people to take ownership. Like, you really, really have to own your life. You have to own your choices. You have to be clear about, this is your life happening right here, right now. Whatever you choose to do, let that be your choice, right? And
mm,
so just really empowering women with the understanding that your life matters. It has value. And so get comfortable what you want in life, why you want it, and to get serious about it because you don't have forever to get it done, right? There's a clock ticking. So how do you really show up in life and say, well, you know what? I've been given this gift called life. I'm a unique individual. There's no one like me. So what does that mean in terms of the big picture, the global picture? Like, why am I here? How am I going to make a difference? Who am I to impact? And how do I just enjoy and have fun, right?
right.
I just enjoy life and have fun as well. So, um, just helping women just kind of just bring it home. You bring it home like with one simple question: is what do I want?
And that's a powerful question. And a lot of times people can't even answer that question. They can tell
Right,
you what, they can tell you what their spouse wants.
right, right. They can tell you what the spouse wants. They can tell you what their parents want, what their siblings want, what their friends want,
Right.
and just never really circle back and come home and ask the question, "What do I want?" And I think from some of my observations with some of my workshops, talks, and different situations I've been in, I think we avoid asking the question because the question is going to stir something up inside of us to help us get really clear about what's working in life and what's not working. And so when you start digging in those areas, that mean you have to really get clear about, okay, how have I been showing up in a mediocre way? How have I been allowing myself to be exposed to unhealthy relationships? And
Hmm.
how have I been so busy blaming other people that I missed the opportunity to take responsibility, right? Because if
Right.
you're in victim mode, blaming people outside of you for your situation, it's like you put your power on the sideline, right?
Hmm.
You just miss that. Like, responsibility is a beautiful thing. And so just helping women realize, like, it's okay to write down what you want and to give yourself permission to go for it. Everyone will benefit from making those choices.
I think it's, so like with men, right? Men struggle with the same question. we run through the same, this idea of, okay, I've got to do for others. I got to do for others. I got to do for others. Um, do you encounter that? How do you help women then shift from, excuse me, wanting to do for others to start wanting to do for themselves?
Well, we're saying both. Did I lose you here, Ivan? Are you here?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here.
Okay.
Your
So
screen's
so basically
okay. Go ahead.
So basically, it's not that you have to do either or. You're just looking at both. And how do I incorporate what I want while serving others? Because I do believe we're built to serve as well. So how do I make myself the primary focus here? And from there, how do I pour out from my cup?
Okay. And what's one of the things that you do? What kind of can you give me an example of like an exercise that you use to help them extract that greatness from themselves?
Right. So what we do is we ask the question is, what do I want? And we look at it from a holistic perspective. It's like, what do I want mentally? What does that look like? What do I want emotionally? What do I want financially? And for example, if we want to say, what do I want emotionally? One thing could be, I just want to feel good. I want to be happy. I want to be joyful. I want to be purposeful. And what do I want mentally? That's a really a strong question because your mindset dictates so many other areas of your life. And so by being clear, like I just want to have a healthy state of mind, right? Just starting there.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I understand that approach. I was actually working with a client this past week, and a guy, and he struggled with that same thing. He just said, I want to become this new person. I want to become this new person, but he kept constantly reflecting back to what his life used to be like. And one of the things I was trying to get, to help him do was shift from what his life used to be to what he wants it to become. Do you find that same type of issue with your clients as well, where they're still kind of holding on maybe to that victim mentality or that past? They don't want to escape
Absolutely.
it.
Right. And it's just, and you have to understand, it's a conditioned pattern. It's how we've been operating for years. And so it's what we know, it's what we've learned. And so therefore we're operating from just a very deep pattern. And so when we look at doing pattern interruption, we ask, okay, we are no longer telling this story. We're so done with it, right? Today we're going to press reset. And for me, like for one thing that stands out for me in the Bible says, um, be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind.
Yeah, yeah.
Meaning today, how do I start thinking different thoughts? How do I just disrupt the pattern? And it takes a while because we have years and years and years of embedded thoughts and behaviors because most of us absorb our environment. So we tend to, by osmosis, act out what we've seen, right?
Mm, right.
So I invite clients like you're sitting here today to get real present with yourself today in this moment and ask yourself, I am sitting here today, this very moment. I have the opportunity to press the reset button, meaning from today forward, I can begin to design, create the life I desire. What does that look like for me? And if your question is, that's a great place to start. It's like, well, what do you want it to look like? What
Right.
does your ideal life look like? Who do you surround yourself with? What value do you offer? How do you feel when you wake up in the morning? What are you grateful for? How do you want to serve the world? Right?
Right.
And it takes work, Ivan. It takes work because those patterns are deeply embedded. And we can all relate to that. I can just use myself as an example. Just thinking as a woman, I've always been very driven in terms of being able to set a goal, go for it. But just in the background of my mind, there were just some weird things, some weird thoughts about feeling this weird element of maybe, I don't know if it would be confusion or maybe shame or guilt or something in a weird kind of way. Because you're thinking, okay, well, I lost my dad as at a young age, at 7 years old, and every girl needs a father. And although I have two amazing brothers who showed up as amazing guardians, still as a girl and being my daddy's like the apple of his eye, losing him at a young age, for some reason, something about that influenced my thinking in a weird way where it's like, okay, well, how does a girl go on in the world without her father, the one person who tells her she's special, she's amazing, she's beautiful? And so being able to just kind of notice some subconscious things that showed up in my behavior, it may you just have to kind of pull over to the side and take inventory. It's like, well, hey, what's going on here? You are an awesome, amazing individual, but your behavior is displaying something different. What's going on? And so for me, I think coaching is very helpful where you put yourself in an environment where someone can look at you objectively and
Right.
give you feedback because they only want what's best for you.
Right.
Their feedback may be a little uncomfortable. However, uncomfortable isn't going to kill you, right? It's settling for the old habits that are not working for you that will destroy your life or cause you to miss the opportunity to have a beautiful, amazing life, right?
Correct. Now, how did you get into coaching? And did you go to any special schools or anything like that? Just like curiosity, really.
I started coaching. I guess I've been like a mini coach since I was a teenager in my circles, school, social circles, family environments. Like I'm always the cheerleader. Like I'm always the person cheering for people saying, hey, you can do it. Give it a go. Give it a try. In my family, I'm a first generation college graduate. I didn't know how I was going to work out going to college. All I knew was that I needed a college degree in order to create some kind of life. And that was just my philosophy. So I went for it, right? I had no clue. And it
Right.
worked out. And just looking at other areas of my life and just giving myself permission to believe in myself in a sense and take like healthy risks and risk and hope for, pray for a healthy outcome as well, where you um, have this, there's an inner confidence within us that guides us when we're looking to stretch into our greatness or to realize our potential. And Ivan, I don't know what happened here with the video segment of it, but can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you fine. We're good. We're good.
We're good. Okay. Yeah. And so as a young girl, I've always been a cheerleader. I believe in people. And that's one thing I focus on is how to optimize your potential, meaning how do you tap into this reservoir inside of yourself to really, really live life in a full, rich, beautiful, amazing way. Right. And so just over the years, challenging myself, challenging people around me, seeing people get results, seeing people um, experience their dreams come to life, their goals achieved. And in my life as well, I'm the author of 3 books. And just to, I just believe we can do anything. There aren't any limits in life. Only limited thinking. Get your mind right means get your life right. Right?
Right. I love, one of the things I love doing about coaching, and one of the things I love about coaching is that the ability to one to be objective and unbiased and actually be a part of the client's breakthroughs, right? What's one of the most enjoyable aspects for you as being a coach?
It's hearing people say, especially when they're struggling with the self-esteem or self-confidence and you like thinking they can't do it. I had a client, she had agreed to do a speaking situation. She had agreed to do it. However, the moment came where the crowd was there and freaked out. She's like, I can't do it. It's like, I can't do it. I was like, oh, honey, we're here. We're doing it. You're so doing it right now, right? It's
Right.
about to happen. You, this is the life need you to yourself to breath, give yourself permission to go out there and offer value to the world. When you said you could do it, that meant you said you could, that you would do it. So how do you somewhat annihilate the negative self-talk that will come up when you're trying to step out of an old pattern?
Uh-huh.
And so we just said, honey, you said the audience is here. You invited them here. They're expecting to see you. You're going to go out there and perform at a high level. And she's like, okay, okay, okay. And you can see her kind of just talking herself into a different state of mind. Went
Right.
out there, while the audience, we had a great time. Afterwards, she could not believe it. She's like, "Oh my gosh, I did it! Oh my gosh, I did it!" Right? I said, "Oh, of course you did it because you said you could, right?"
Right.
So, yeah, sometimes it's going to be uncomfortable when you're breaking old patterns, but that that point of disruption that makes you uncomfortable, you have to kind of just walk through it in order to step into a new space, a new mental space, a new emotional space. Does that make sense,
Yeah.
Ivan?
It does, and it leads me to another question actually. So yesterday I wrote a blog called, um, men 3 tips, to silencing silence, or the silencing the silence. And I found that men struggle with silence because of that uneasiness, right? Because it makes them uncomfortable. Do women have that same type of challenge then, where they avoid the silence? Because much like you said, that pattern interruption, it's in those moments of silence that, either we make a decision to interrupt the previous patterns or to fall back into those old patterns. Do women kind of struggle with silence issues and being alone in silence?
I think we all do as human beings because there's an ongoing, incessant conversation in our heads all the time. And so silence can make us feel very uncomfortable simply because we usually have a lot of chatter going on within until when the area is silent, we automatically feel the need to want to say something. But a
Mhm.
healthy pause is good, right? Just a healthy pause is good. And one thing that has been tremendously helpful for me is meditation. And meditation is a good tool to help you get comfortable with silence and how to quiet or turn down the chatter that goes on inside, right?
Right.
So, um, whether you're male or female, I think meditation is a good tool to consider in terms of getting comfortable with silence. Like, silence isn't a bad thing, right? You don't have to talk every time the air is still.
Yeah. Yeah. So I want to touch on your books real quick, and I want to
Yeah,
commend you for writing a book, or not just one, not two, but 3. So tell me a
thank
little
you.
bit about your books.
So the first book, Unfoldings A Woman's Journey, is a compilation of poetic verses, and it just really celebrates and honors women, letting us know that we are beautiful, we are awesome, we are unique, we are amazing. So it's a compilation of, of poems there. My second book, You Are Enough, a guide to love, joy, peace, freedom, and acceptance, which is the most popular book. It talks about women understanding that who you are, well, not just women, but women and men, human beings, that who you are is enough. The source that created you
Hmm.
did a great job, right? So, how
Right.
do you get out of the mindset of just looking at your life for everything that went wrong? Because that's what we do. That's the story we tell, like the mistakes we made, the shortcomings, sometimes the family environment we grew up in, what we did not have. We sometimes hang our thoughts, our attention on that side of life, that we never say, well, okay, I can't control the environment. I couldn't control that. That was just a part of my upbringing. But again, getting present, like, here is where I stand today. How can I begin to reshape, rebuild, recreate my life? Right? So, meaning you have within you this inexhaustible capacity to change, to grow, to evolve. But you have to be clear that you've grown tired of where you stand today. Meaning, this life I've created, it sucks, right? And I have to take responsibility for that. It just doesn't work anymore. I don't even
Right.
like it. I don't like the people I hang around with. My financial situation is shady. I don't even know what I want to do. I kind of aimlessly wander around. And so I keep blaming other people. I allow people to waste my time telling me all their problems. And I miss the opportunity to just take ownership to say, okay, well, I am enough. And you can, and what I do, Ivan, which really works for me, is I use certain examples of people that I really admire, I really just respect at a high level. And I'm thinking, well, the source that created them created me as well. So how do I give myself permission to go beyond, to go higher than where I stand today? Right? Like Oprah Winfrey, I totally admire her and respect her. And so I look at her as a model. Michelle Obama, even Michael Jordan. there's a whole list of individuals that I admire and respect who really perform at a high level and deliver and serve at a high level, and say, okay, well, how can I study them? What thought habits do they practice? What values do they center their lives around? Who do they surround themselves with? What are some of the routines and practices? And how can I incorporate those things into my life to reshape, rebuild, refocus? So Your Enough talks about who you are is what you have to work with, and being clear about that. What can you do to design the life you want, and begin to walk it out, because it is a journey. And the most recent book, Blossom, Discover the Beautiful Flower Within, just talks about the metaphor of a plant or flower going through its process, um, understanding that the plant, the flower, the tree is already in the seed. Isn't that powerful?
Right. Right.
When you think about that, the oak tree is inside the acorn. Do you know how big an oak tree grows? And to
Right.
know that all that's already contained inside the acorn,
Right. And
right? And
that
just
the shell actually has to break and die in order to grow.
correct. And it has to go under the soil and to be
Yeah.
nurtured from external situations to stimulate the growth. And growth isn't bad. It's just to move from where you are to where you desire to go. And so it
Yeah.
basically just talks about us as human beings. Like, we have this unlimited potential within us, but it's up to us to just go for it, right? So that we can share our gifts, our talents with the world. So yeah, those are the three books.
They all sound amazing. How can the listeners, find your books and find
All
you?
three of the books, yeah, all three of the books can be found on my website at jacquelinehayes.world. All three books are also available on amazon.com. And yeah, take a look. Get one for yourself, get one for your family members, get one for any woman in your life who you feel could just use a tool or resource to help her get in a different place, a different state in life.
So I just put up your website. I don't know if you can see it, www.jacquelinehayes.world.
That world.
And,
Correct.
and I love the dot world. When I first saw it, I was like, oh, that's cool. I like. I said that was smart,
Yeah.
and that was
Yeah.
really really smart.
Yeah, we're going for global impact here, Ivan. Global impact, the world.
Hey, hey, I'm not mad at you. I don't blame you. So I
Yeah.
want to, let's shift gears a little bit. Um,
Okay.
you have 20 years experience in human resources and talent management. What are some of what is human resources? Because as someone that's been in corporate, I always viewed HR as the police. Whenever HR was around, I was on my best behavior.
That is so funny. So, human resources is the department that manages or oversees the human capital, meaning the employees. My and there are different departments or aspects of human resources. So, my area of strength is the talent acquisition, responsible for staffing the company or organization with talent, meaning I would source for talent, set up interviews, work with hiring managers to hire talent and get the talent hired inside the organization. So that's my role in terms of talent acquisition, acquiring talent for the organization, meaning I
Let-
do the
let-
hiring.
so let's clarify talent, right? So when you say you're acquiring talent or searching for talent, is that at the hourly rate or is that at the salary positions?
Both. Talent is whether you're exempt or non-exempt. It means the person that's going to fill the job, the vacancy. So whether it's entry level, high level, the talent is the individual who's going to fill the vacancy pretty much. Yeah, the open position.
And when
Yes.
did they change the term to talent? I mean, I'm just curious
It's always been talent.
because I always thought, okay,
Right.
you're hiring people, right? But you know how,
Right.
how nowadays we've kind of masked so many different words, or what we used to say is no longer politically correct, and so forth. What's one of the things that you like the most about uh, talent management or talent acquisition? How what do you enjoy about the hiring process?
Oh, Ivan, that's such a great question. Oh my gosh. So I am a people person. I love talking with people. I love being in a situation to offer something that could change a person's life. So if someone has experienced a layoff with the company due to a downsizing or whatever, and they're trying to figure out what their next opportunity is, and they happen to apply for one of my job openings, having the
Mhm.
opportunity to talk to the individual about their skills, their knowledge, their experience that relates to the job, getting to know them, also hearing them talk about how the job is going to have a positive impact on their life and the family that they're committed to, and helping them get hired, right? Helping them get the job, them showing up on the job, doing a job well, and really, really enjoying it. Um, and I've hired thousands of people, right?
Right,
And one thing that I think is so important for people to understand when it comes to your career, your vocation, it is so important to try to find something that you enjoy doing early on, because your vocation is a large portion or a large segment of your life. I mean, you spend 8 or 9 hours, or maybe 10 or 12, depending on how you work, in a 24-hour frame. So that means you spend a lot of your hours in an environment where you just better hope that you like it, or actually really love it. And if you don't, to do your best to try to find something you enjoy doing. So I enjoy talking to people, helping them find the right job fit, getting them hired. Um, Also, with individuals getting a promotion, getting a salary increase, what that does for their self esteem, and having those experiences as well. So, yeah, I'm totally a people person, and yeah, great experience.
I was in corporate before I resigned. I spent a little bit over a decade in corporate and healthcare finance, and I got to a place where eventually I resigned to pursue coaching and speaking and full time. How what usually sparks that type of change in the people that you encounter?
What,
If
to make the transition from corporate to entrepreneurship, or?
well, yeah, I know that question was kind of vague. um, let me rephrase it. A lot of times, okay, so I'll share my experience, and then you kind of guide me through this. What your recommendation would be then? I've been in corporate. I've achieved a certain level of success. All of a sudden, I have this epiphany, another epiphany that wait a minute, what I'm doing no longer aligns with me. Either I've maxed out where I'm at. Um, my title doesn't match my salary, meaning maybe I'm overpaid for my title. So other companies are going to look and say, okay, well, we can't afford them, or my title doesn't match my pay. I'm being, my title is far greater than what my pay is, so other people won't touch me. And you find your place, you find yourself at this crossroads. How can you advise people or employees in that situation on what their next steps are when they feel like they're maxed out, or they feel like what I call management purgatory? That's what I call it, management purgatory.
Okay,
You're in management purgatory. What do I do? Where
okay.
do I go from here? I can't do this no more. What next?
Ivan, that's a great question. Is I, I I tell the person you have to go with what your gut tells you, right? Because you have to live with the choice. If you're saying, well, there are some disparities in the workplace where I just no longer want to deal with that. It's driving me crazy and I want something different. If those are your motivators and you look to make a change in terms of quote unquote doing your own thing, what does that look like for you? Whatever's motivating you to make the move, you just got to be clear about how you're going to walk that journey out, right? And so um, it's every person's choice. You have to just decide for yourself. If you have to believe enough in yourself, okay, I'm going to take this this road here because the road I'm currently traveling on is no longer working for me,
Right.
and just to see what you discover. And so I don't like telling people what to do in that capacity. I think you have to kind of tap to something within and say, okay, I feel this. I'm not really sure what's going on here, but I'm going to give it a go. And
Right.
the thing about it, when you're skilled, or if your skills are relevant in today's market, you have options, right? You have options.
Right. For me, it was I was advised not to resign, or at least not until I had my coaching practice completely up and running. But
Okay.
I knew for me, it was just, I was just at a point to where I was ready to explode. I would sit in the car for an hour before I would actually walk in.
Right.
My productivity just, I went from being the standard to not even, being able to meet my own expectations on my own worst days. So to me, I was imploding. I was self-erupting. Really, is what was happening. How
Right.
often how often, what causes do you think career burnout? And I think that's
So
part of
many
what.
things, yeah, so many things cause career burnout. A couple things you mentioned earlier is that when there's a disparity between the work you're performing and the pay you're receiving over
Mm,
time, if you haven't had that conversation, there's this weird negativity that builds up, meaning, oh my gosh, they're getting more out of me than I'm getting in return, right? And so
right,
if that situation isn't addressed, it can create this element of, well, I'm not going to do more because I'm already not getting paid what I'm worth.
right,
Um, and also as a person changes and evolves, what you loved doing 5 to 10 years ago, today it just no longer appeals to you. You're thinking, well, I'm bored. This is a redundant job. I no longer enjoy it. And so how do I give myself permission to stretch to find out what else I would like to do, what other skills I can discover about myself? And so um, yeah, it's just it's your journey and you have to own your choices and decisions and go for it.
and I've always heard, coaching in the HR capacity, or there's a lot of coaching elements within human resources, and even in my own journey through the coaching world, I find that there's a lot of coaches in the HR world. Why is that? How is that just something that's part of the college curriculum, or where is that connection, and why is that such? Why is there such seems to be such a link there?
Well, because you have the human factor of human resources, people, right? People
Hmm.
people need sometimes guidance, direction, support, tools, resources to help them if they're in a current if in their current job situation, if there's an opportunity to enhance or change performance, you need a little coaching. It's like, okay, here's what's working, here's what's not working, here's some opportunities. If you're looking to position yourself to maybe take your career to the next level. You need someone to provide some guidance, some tools, some resources, how to go about getting mentorship and support in those capacities. So I believe it's the human element of human resources that kind of invites coaching because as human beings, I know for me, I have a team of coaches. Like I need different people supporting me in achieving my dreams and goals. Like my trainer to talk to me about nutrition, to talk to me about cardio, to talk to me about whatever is needed to help me achieve my goal, right? I know what the goal is. I know what the end result is. Sometimes I need support on the how to.
Uh, and that's the power of coaching in a
Yeah,
nutshell. Yeah, yeah. And,
right,
and,
right.
and I've actually, my wife and I were talking about this last night. Um, you know, trying to, I don't want to say sell coaching, because it's not a tangible product; it's an experience. And it's just a different sale versus exposure. It's an experience of having coaching. And I think you're right that you got to have a team around you. You're only as good as your team, or as good as your weakest link. Um, when did you? Because I can tell you're an excellent coach. I can hear your questions. I can hear the way you articulate your questions. So I can tell you're an excellent coach. What I guess where when did that flower of coaching blossom inside of you and say, okay, this is something I want to pursue further?
I guess it's kind of a part of my nature, and people have kind of talked to me about it and assigned the coach. So I'm more of a consultant now, where I do more situations where I sit with people and I kind of walk them through, and not really the heavy coaching. But I think it's just kind of embedded in me, just from my life experiences and the things I've witnessed happen in my life is just being able to ask a person a certain structure of questions to help them get to the core of where they are, what they really want, what's in the way, and how to just move out of one situation into another. And it's just kind of my nature, I guess psychologically how I'm wired. I just, I just, that's just a part of who I am, right? It's just who I am. It's like, how do you just believe in yourself? And how do you get the support you need to get what you want, right? And sometimes that's difficult. Sometimes it's uncomfortable. Sometimes it's challenging where you have to sit with the coach, an objective person, and they pretty much have to um, just give you a very objective point of view of yourself, which can
Sure.
sometimes be uncomfortable because you're like your own fan club, right? You can come sometimes support your insecurities, the ways you play it to the left when you should be centered. And if you're the only person that you have to gauge that on until you get strong enough, you can miss the opportunity to really excel in your life. So I think coaching is just a part of my nature, and also um, realizing for me that being coached is probably more important. It's because for me, I am my message. I am my brand. What I say to you is what I live, what I've experienced. So, um, yeah, I just get a strong support system. And if coaching makes you feel uncomfortable, call it your power team. Call it whatever you need. Just get
Yeah,
call
yeah,
it
that's true.
your power consultant.
One last thing. It says here motivational speaker, right? What do you love the most about speaking?
I love being in an environment where I'm connecting with the audience, where what I'm saying resonates with and where people get it, where I'm able to share my stories, share my experiences in ways that help people realize, oh, I'm not the only one. I have made mistakes and I don't have to stay in that space. Or, oh, there is hope for me. Or, oh, I am beautiful. Like, really? I am beautiful. You're looking at me, telling me I'm beautiful. Like, really? No one's ever said that to me, right? Or
Right.
that I am amazing. And just that whole experience of seeing people's faces, feeling connected, feeling a sense of oneness, and just sharing with, yeah, sharing.
I hear you. And I think that's one of the things that when I say people like us, people who are very in tune and aware of who we are internally and as an individual, and then have this gift or desire to want to help others, right? That sometimes we forget, just hearing you say that no one's ever told me that I'm beautiful before or that I was amazing. You know, we kind of, I think sometimes I forget that people never heard that. I almost think, okay, everybody's self um, enlightened, and I think sometimes that's a challenge for even for myself to remember when sharing with others, because it almost sounds like, okay, what I'm saying is elementary, but there's still that whole population of people out there that, or that whole generation even, that hasn't heard that message yet. And I think that's important that people such as yourself continue to communicate that message and share that message, that everybody has. Les Brown is one of the people I look up to, that there's greatness inside of you, and that, you say to yourself every day that it's possible. It's possible that somebody else can do it, that can live out their dreams, and I can do it too, that it's possible. What's the last parting words that you'd like to leave with the listeners today?
I would like all the listeners to know that they have something unique and amazing to offer the world, right? There are a unique set of gifts, skills, and talents inside of you that could add so much value to the world and enrich and enhance your life in so many ways. If you if your listeners would just commit themselves to figuring out, how can I serve the world, right? How can I share with the world what I've been given? And also what's hugely important is, how do I appreciate who I am as a human being having this human experience? and how can I share that with the world to do my part to make the world a better place. I think with that, it'll just enrich your life in so many ways, and to um, give your life so much more meaning and substance. And so feel free to get a copy of my book, share it with friends, and light up the world with your gifts. That's what I would share with the listeners.
Yeah, I'm putting your website back up on the screen again so people can find you. It's
Awesome.
www.jacquelinehayes.world. Um,
Yes.
I want to thank you, Jacqueline, for being on the show today. I'm sorry for a little technical difficulties, but I could hear you clearly and I could hear you well. And I loved your message, and I can hear your enthusiasm and passion for not just coaching, but just for inspiring and motivating people in general. And I want to wish you, continued success and continue to change the world in a positive way. This has been this week's show of Keep It Moving, coming live from Miami, Florida. And just remember, as Jacqueline was saying, you have a unique gift that only you can share with this world. There is the odds, and I've used this statistic a while back. The odds of you being you is like 1 in 400 trillion, or some absurd number that really mathematically, if you do the math behind it, it's impossible. It's virtually impossible for there ever to be another you. So if it's that improbable for there ever to be another you, then there's something that only you can offer this world. And maybe I'm selfish for saying this and I'm greedy, but I want to experience your individual, unique gift that only you can bring to me. And I want to share with you my gift. And I think Jacqueline would love to share her gifts with you as well. So don't ever forget that you're here for a divine reason. You can define divinity however you please, but there's something that only you can bring into this world. And I encourage you, I motivate you, I challenge you to dig deep within yourself and figure out what that one thing is, and then bring it to the world and bring your gift and share your gift to the rest of the world. So that's this week's show. I'll keep it moving. Until next week, peace.